We need time for all of the candidates to sum up, but I'm not going to let you guys get away without addressing one more thing that's really important, and maybe I'll ask you to do it each in 1 minute, which is this city seems perpetually broke. Good times, bad times, we always have a budget deficit. You're all talking about it, and everyone talks about we need more programs for this, we need more programs for that, we need more cops, we need more of this. I would like to hear from each of the candidates in 1 minute what taxes you would raise specifically to pay for those programs, or what are we doing now as a city that you cut? Eric.
Well, one is that obviously that it's a $6.5 billion roughly around budget, so it's a huge budget. We need to make sure that the funding is being accurately spent and it's been spent well. We need a budget process that includes more of our participation and more participation from the people who are most impacted by what happens in the budget. I think it's important to raise revenue when we have an idea of where it's going, when it's not so regressive. Much of the taxation that comes from San Francisco is regressive. It's hitting the working class, it's hitting poor people. We need to find ways like the real estate transfer tax, which would increase transfer tax at $5 million. That's what's being proposed for this fall, and also the gross income receipt tax. We need to find ways of really taxing corporations and the people that are really taxing our systems of public transportation, our education system. So we need to go downtown and really figure out ways of increasing taxes there. But most importantly, managerial growth. I think we need to look at how big and how fast managerial positions have grown, and particularly in this administration, the last two administrations, to really get that under control so that we can actually use those $6.5 billion to address the issues that we've all been talking about today.
There are actually some measures that are going to be on the ballot in November that will try to address this issue to some extent, and I'm supportive of those measures. My general sense is that we really need to look at the big corporations in San Francisco who have the privilege of doing business in San Francisco, that they have to pay their fair share. But part of the problem with the city budget, from my perspective, is that there's a lot of waste. I have represented a lot of companies over the years as an attorney, and we have city agencies, city departments that for many years have tens of millions of dollars that are being expended on overtime. Why are we letting agencies run themselves that way? If we were talking about companies, these companies, the CEO of that company would have been fired by now. So I think that we really need to institute best practices in terms of how city government operates. And one of the first things that I want to do if elected is have a citywide audit that looks at how every agency is spending the money they do have.
Any SUV drivers here? Okay. Well, I think we ought to tax them. And we ought to have a congestion fee downtown as well. The city's $6.5 billion has gone from $5 billion under Brown's tenure to $6.5 billion right now. There's absolutely no reason in the world we should have a deficit. It's absolutely stunning that there's a deficit. The school district has its problems. We were able this year, with all of our problems, to be able to avoid laying off the 535 teachers that we sent out pink slips to, because we're able to balance our budget. That's something I've been able to do with my colleagues and with the superintendent over the 8 years. We've never had to do the kinds of layoffs that we're seeing right now in the city. I also think we have to have our priorities right. I mean, I do think we have to do better with the police, and I've mentioned some of those ways we should, but the mayor should not be negotiating a 3 or 25% raise for police. It's just ridiculous when we're in this kind of crisis. I think that overtime is something we ought to look at, and I agree with David Campos about having an audit.
We've been here a long time. Before the candidates take 2 minutes to sum up, I just want to thank everybody for coming and for listening to all of this, and for spending as much time as you spent here listening to the candidates and caring about our district and caring about our city's future.
Well, again, I just want to say that what's really important in terms of these ideas is really understanding this district and having been in this district for many, many years. I think when someone like me gets the opportunity to go to City Hall, that when we have to make tough decisions at the budgetary basis, you want someone who understands and knows all of the issues and who does what in our district. And I think that's really important knowledge to have at the Board of Supervisors. Second, I think we have to have an understanding of justice in our community. We have many pockets poverty in District 9 that I've been working with for many, many years, disenfranchised parts of the community that need to be at the table and organized for our solutions. We can come up with all the solutions in the world up here, but unless we organize them, unless they're at the forefront of the solutions, it doesn't matter how much money we spend on the issues, they won't get solved. We have to have a supervisor that's been in this district fighting for justice and fighting for those marginalized communities, as well as knowing all the policies that need to happen. And finally, I think on leadership. I have been here for this community for many, many years, and I think you all can trust me. You all know the politics that I take forward, the progressive principles that I have, and the work that I've done over the years. I have been a part of many different movements here in District 9. You have seen me at the Planning Commission many, many times, at the Eastern Neighborhood Plans. I have been to those meetings, those thousands of hours at the Planning Commission, at City Hall working on issues. So you know my politics, you know where I stand. Maybe you don't agree with me, but you know that where I stand is going to be there and consistent for this district. And that's what this district needs. It needs that type of leadership. It needs the type of experience from the grassroots up. Thank you.
First of all, thank you again to the Bernal Heights Neighborhood Center and to the Bernal Heights Democratic Party Club for hosting this, and to all of you for being here tonight. You know, Eric Story mentioned that in this race, the Police Officers Association has not endorsed, and the fact that I'm a sitting member of the Police Commission and what that says. And I hope that when you delve into that and look at the reasoning behind that, it's because on the Police Commission, I have not been afraid to push the envelope and to do what I think is right. And even though the Police Officers Association may not be supportive of my candidacy, when I walk the street and I talk to all the police officers, they tell me that they support the fact that I am pushing for things like foot patrols, because 80% of the police officers in this city know the importance of being connected to the community. That is the kind of supervisor that I'm going to be. Look, there are many of us here. We probably are not going to agree on every issue, and that's the beauty of District 9, the fact that we have such diversity. I want to be a supervisor for all of District 9. I am a progressive Democrat who has been endorsed by the Democratic Party, but I think that the reason that so many people from all walks of life are supportive of this candidacy is because they know that in my heart, I am here because I believe in San Francisco. I believe in District 9. This is a very special place, and I'm really ready and committed to work my darnest to make sure that I am the best supervisor that I can possibly be. You're going to find in me someone who is accessible, who's going to have an open door policy. In the end, we may not agree on every issue, but I'm going to listen to you very carefully, and you are going to get tired of seeing me because I'm going to be everywhere in this district. I want to make sure that you have the kind of supervisor that knows what's happening even before, it becomes an issue. That's the kind of supervisor that we deserve. And so I am really committed to making that the kind of a person that I am, is someone who works very hard. I see a lot of faces in this room who are behind me, not because they agree with me on everything, but because they know that at the end of the day, we need leadership that delivers. That's the kind of leadership that I will provide. Thank you very much.
I wanted to recognize Commissioner Jill Wins, because I think Jill's been a big part of this club for a long time. And the reason I want to also recognize her is because we hired Carlos Garcia, and the reason we hired Carlos Garcia is because Jill actually recommended that we look at him. And my first impulse when Jill said that was because we disagree so much. I don't know if I want to look at Carlos Garcia. I'm so happy that we did, because we have one of the best superintendents in the country.